So I started with this song because I want everyone to know first and foremost that I do set my hope on Jesus. Luke and I are very firm believers in God, His grace, and His mercy. We believe Jesus is the answer to the hope and healing that we seek as the human race. As we are called to be lights in a dark world as we follow Him, we're not promised an easy life. God says in His Word that His grace is sufficient, and we survived on that grace many, many times. And it is through God's goodness, grace, and mercy that we can sit here today and say Collin is healing. The Lord gave us an incredible community through His church, through the church. This is crucial if you're walking through eczema and topical steroid withdrawal. And we certainly would not have been able to make it through without our church family praying and sitting with us as we walked through it. As many walking through this know, it's a 24/7 struggle. Those moms or dads who are taking care of a child or themselves with this issue have long days and long nights of tears and frustrations. Being at church was so important to me, but people would come up to us while we got there and say, hey, if Collin is uncomfortable or scratching, I'll sit with him so you can sit in the service, or they'd just come over to the house and sit with him so I could rest. I've been blessed by the gift of the church, and if you are not a part of one or want to know more about Christ, then just comment. I'd love to tell you about the hope that I have. All right, part one, I will start from the beginning. I've named this part allergies and allergy tests. The very first thing you need to do is take an allergy test. So when Collin was 8 months old, his eyes became really puffy, and a friend saw it and told me it looked like an allergic reaction. I had a blood allergy test done on him and found out that he had a dairy and egg allergy. But his doctor told me, and I quote, "You can still eat dairy. It won't cause him anything but a little stomach discomfort." I was nursing at this time, so that's why she said that. So we put the triamcinolone, I believe that's how you say it, the topical steroid on him for a few weeks. I was a little bit aware of the dangers of steroids, but I had no idea what topical steroid withdrawal was. We weren't going to be using it for a long time, so I was like, let's just use it for a little bit and he'll be okay. And during that time, I also decided to slowly remove dairy and egg from my diet as well. I wasn't too concerned because the doctor wasn't too concerned, and I blame myself for not taking it more seriously. But as Collin kept trying more solid foods, he kept having allergic reactions. It was constantly happening, and I thought maybe removing the things that I knew I was allergic to from his diet might help, because why wouldn't he be allergic to the things I was allergic to? But still, he continued to have these hives reactions. And his eyes continued to get puffy. His skin got progressively worse between months 8 and 12. And so I decided to stop nursing altogether at 1 year because I was barely eating anything and we were pretty miserable. And during this time, the eczema on my hands and body was getting worse, and I'll talk about that later. But Luke and I decided that we should get a skin allergy test done on Collin, because we wanted to be sure there wasn't anything missing. So the test came back to show his dairy allergy is extremely severe. And when I say severe, the skin test thing touched his back, and this bump formed and then kind of opened and blood was coming out. That's how severe it was. And then he had a moderate allergy to eggs and a severe allergy to rice. So we immediately cut those from his diet, and we saw, and I mean, we'd already known about his dairy. We knew something was up with dairy, so we'd already cut that out a while ago. But eggs, can be difficult. I love mayo on my sandwiches, and ranch dressing and Chick-fil-A sauce, Zax sauce, all that had egg in it. So I had to remove all of that as well. And so we noticed less reactions, but he would still randomly have these hives reactions that we didn't know why. And with each day, his skin got worse and worse, and he was noticing now. So he was scratching constantly. He was whining, crying, wasn't sleeping. His baby skin was going away, and his skin was becoming hard and weepy and crusted. So we had a follow-up with his allergist about a month later. And so that's when they were like, we actually think he's allergic. Like, we looked at his chart or whatever, and we think he's actually allergic to garlic, not rice, which was extremely frustrating, but that was definitely what it was. So back to the drawing board, we removed garlic, and that is way, way more difficult to avoid than rice.